We had a fresh snowfall the other day here in northern Alberta, which is not surprising for our climate. Although I was hoping that spring might be on the way because we had some really nice warm days, but we woke up to this beautiful snowfall and I decided to film part of the day. At this point in the day, my kids had already finished their school. I had done some school with my younger kids and we finished breakfast, so I'm bathing the baby, and Geoff and the older kids are outside cutting trees from an area that we are trying to clear before we get snow melt, this area right over here. And I am heading out to the greenhouse with the younger kids to get a little bit of work done out there. I'm also just sharing some carnivore butter bites. We've been eating carnivore lately, and I'll explain a little bit about that and what we had for supper this night. So I hope that you'll enjoy this video. So I had mentioned that we have been eating carnivore lately, and I thought that I would just briefly share a little bit about that. But before I get to that, I'm just sharing a little bit about some of my current greenhouse chores. And I planted these strawberries in the fall, and they're doing really well so far. Every time they start to bloom, I just pick those blooms off because I'm hoping I can get all of that energy to go down into the roots and grow some really healthy plants. I also just kind of go through, I still get little bits of weeds in my beds, and I will pick those out and put everything into my worm farm there. But I'm really hoping that I can have that entire bed on the deck over there, and then possibly another one of these taller beds here, just chock full of juicy, ripe red strawberries. That's one of my goals for this summer. If you're new here, this area here is heated with an outdoor wood boiler, and this is my first year working the greenhouse throughout the winter. So I've been learning a lot, especially when it comes to watering and airflow. I definitely overwatered, and I had quite a few plants rot out and die. I also have a really big aphid problem, and I think I'm going to need to cut those plants out. And I was reading about using ladybugs for aphid control in a greenhouse, so I'm debating ordering some ladybugs that you can just release into your greenhouse. So that was something else that I learned about. And also just how to not have mold grow. Although since Geoff put the fans in, I'm having less mold, but I still need to figure out how to get a really good balance of watering and not too much and not too little. And then I found that I had these dahlias. I thought that I had rotted out those dahlia tubers, and I was really excited to find those. So a chore that I'm going to be doing soon is carefully digging up those dahlias and repotting them. And over in that area that I was just showing, this area right here, I've got roses, and I'm trying to train them to grow upright. And I just sort of cut the branches that I don't want. I'm trying to cut the shape that I want, because something that I tried a couple years ago was taking flowers to a market, and they did really well, and I had a lot of fun doing it. So I'm trying to grow these dahlias and roses. I've got other flowers in the outdoor garden area. Sunflowers do really well here, yarrow, to make bouquets to take to market. And I'm really excited to try that again this year. I seem to be able to grow flowers better than food. And speaking of food, we have recently shifted to eating a carnivore diet. Now, I didn't know that it was a carnivore diet years ago. I started all of my babies out on meat, so egg yolks, shredded cheese, yogurt, bone broth, things like that. And more recently, I have been looking into this diet because I've been reading and listening to so many wonderful testimonies about people healing a lot of metabolic issues. Something also that is so cool about eating this way is that it's something that we can actually produce in our climate. We live in a really harsh climate, and I have basically struggled and failed for 7 years to try to grow enough food out here to justify canning. Because of that, that was just another reason why we decided to go ahead and try to start eating more of a meat-based diet, because it's easier for us to grow meat, basically to raise some cattle or chickens, so or a dairy cow. We also hunt, and we're actually really enjoying eating this way. So, besides eating meat, we try to eat a lot of fat throughout the day. And I remember back when I was, a young adult, it was like fat was bad. And I remember always looking for low fat things to eat. And now I just can't get enough fat. I'm looking for all these ways to incorporate it in my day to day. And I have these, this is a brown butter bite. And we've been making these almost every day. And so in the afternoon, I will go and eat 3 or 4 of those and sometimes have a glass of milk or something. My kids will eat some of those as little snacks with me as well. And they're so delicious. And we're going to show you guys how we make those. And I was listening to a really interesting podcast recently on thyroid health and fat. And the woman who was speaking, she was saying that we need cholesterol, especially as women. Our brain needs it. Our thyroid, I guess, needs it in order to produce the thyroid hormones, and I guess all of your body needs thyroid hormone. And I honestly am feeling so much better eating this way, and I'm still not getting a lot of sleep at night. I'm still up quite a bit with my baby, and I'm breastfeeding, and I really thought that breastfeeding, my milk would go way down doing this diet, but I actually find that it's a lot easier. And when I am able to sleep, I'm feeling a little bit better, but throughout the day, I'm just feeling more clear-headed. I have a little bit more energy, although I like I said, I am getting tired, but that's just because I'm not getting enough sleep at night. And I love eating fat. I really am a huge carb person. I love bread and cake and sweets and all those things. I just love them. But part of it is I wonder if I just love it and crave it because I've had so little sleep for basically 17 years. I still haven't decided that. I don't know if I'm just like, do I love those things, or is it because I've been tired? Because now I'm really starting to shift. I can't believe how satiated I feel. And even my kids, I've got two of my girls are heading off to camp this summer. And I said, you can just eat whatever you want at the camp. Just go and have fun. Whatever desserts they do, whatever, bread, anything like that. Just do what you want. You're old enough to choose for yourself. And even they're saying, well, no, I feel really good doing this. My stomach feels better. One of my daughters, she really struggles with migraines, and she isn't getting migraines doing this. And so they're telling me that even when they're at camp, they're going to try to continue eating this way. And I'm interested to see if they do that, because it's funny because the camp that they go to, there are people at the camp who actually do eat carnivore. So I think that's really cool. But these brown butter bites are really easy. Basically, we just take a cup of butter and brown it. It takes about 10 minutes. And my daughter, she's making these. When I make them, I just do the brown butter with a little bit of vanilla, but she likes to add a little bit of honey as well, so you don't have to add that. And I think the source of butter is really important too. We use this, it's a grass-fed butter from New Zealand, and Costco just happens to carry it, which is perfect for our budget because we really don't have the budget to be going out and buying a bunch of more high-end types of foods. So yeah, we eat a lot of Costco type foods. If it's at Costco, then we can fit it in. But this is definitely one of those things where I'm hoping that we can do a dairy cow soon, because when we had a cow, we had so much milk and cream coming in, and I didn't know what to do with all of it. I felt so overwhelmed, and now I just feel like I'm kind of getting a better idea of what I would do with all of that lovely cream, turning it into this beautiful butter. And then that night for supper, besides those butter bites, we had a bunch of fried eggs, and we had taken a roast that we had cooked the day before and had with a meal, and we just sliced the rest of it and fried it up like steak, and put a bunch of cheese on those eggs, and then we had those butter bites, and some of my kids had some whole milk, especially the younger kids. They drink milk throughout the day, and they really enjoy that. And that was our day, and that was our supper. And here are the brown butter bites that Sophie makes. And she likes to do a bunch of them, and she'll just put them into a dish. And as she makes them, she'll keep putting them in that dish, and we'll just leave that in the freezer. And a really fun thing, that little tradition that we have right now, is at night, just before bed, we'll all gather around the table and get a few of these butter bites and some warm milk. And currently we are reading The Pilgrim's Progress. And yeah, that's kind of our schedule, and just kind of a look into what we have going on lately.